Hello everyone, welcome. In this video, I'm going to share with you how I do the deep desert as a solo player. And I'm going to divide this video into three parts. The first part being the prep work, everything that I do before I get to the deep desert. The second part will be how I set everything up once I get to the deep desert. And lastly, my strategy when it comes to harvesting, spice, plastinium, all that stuff as a solo player. So let's start with the prep work. And step number one, it is optional step, but it is highly recommended. And that is build yourself a deep desert base in Haga Basin first. If you prefer just to have a box, there's nothing wrong with just having a box in the deep desert. You probably don't need to do this step. Personally, I do enjoy base building, so I, for example, build myself a base. This is actually the second version of my deep desert base. After my first week in the deep desert, I learned a couple of lessons, so I made a few changes and I will go more into detail of this base later. I will show you how everything's set up. And after you have your base finished, just make a bunch of copies with a Solido replicator and take one every time you need to go there. I do find this a bit easier. Plus, once you take it down, you know how much material you're gonna need. All you have to do is just divide in half, and that is the amount that you will need to take to the deep desert. Then the next step is figuring out where to put the base in the deep desert. And for that, I use this website. This is the Dune Awakening database. I will put all the links in the description. I know that there are a couple of other websites. Another popular one is Planetologist. I do like this one a little bit more just visually. Plus, it also tells me the particular items for that week, where to locate them. So this is the website that I'm using, and it looks like for this week, this is the week of August 6 to August 13, it looks like we have a large spice field very close to the border of PvE and PvP. So there's one in here, there's another one here this is F9, this is F3. Last week I was in E3, and it looks like this week I would definitely probably be in the same area. It is going to be in the PvE area, no questions about that. I don't have the balls to put my base in PvP. So this week looks like it's fantastic. Probably gonna end up one of these islands here in E3. So that is how I look for the area. Now, the final step of the prep work is actually now the logistics of taking what I need to the deep desert. And for that, I use another tool, which I think this one is fantastic. This one is called Troubleshoot. Again, I'll put the links in the description where you can just mark what you want and it will tell you how much you need to take. And of course, this is the deep desert, so don't forget to check the deep desert. So that is 50%. And it will tell you what the volume of everything is going to be. You can also choose what vehicle you're using. I am using the assault ornithopter, and it will tell you that okay, you only need one trip. And for my first trip, I always take all the essentials to get the base going, the plastone, the granite, obviously, and I take everything needed to make water plus whatever power is needed. Mostly because I want the water to start going as I do my second trip, or if maybe necessary, who knows, maybe a third trip. And I start loading my assault ornithopter with the materials and following the numbers from this website. And aside from all these items for the base, make sure you take plenty of water. This is just for your character because you might be under the sun for quite a bit while you're building the base. So make sure you have plenty of water on you. Don't be like me. I forgot one time and I died in the deep desert. And also, maybe not on your first trip, but make sure to have backups of compactor as well as power packs, because those two things, they seem to go out pretty quickly when you're farming spice. The cataract seems to be holding pretty well. So far, I haven't had the need to use a backup. Alright, so here is my base in the deep desert. This is now fully complete. and I'm just gonna give you guys a quick look around. So how everything looks from the outside, the design is actually relatively easy. This design is not very complex. You can probably just copy this from just looking at it. The foundation is very simple, 4 blocks right in the middle, reverse pyramid type of thing, kind of creating this square. And the only thing different is that we have this extra location kind of at the front. The one thing that I fucked up is, let me bring up the menu, is that this was supposed to face to the north. And I completely fucked up when I was building this. It is now facing a little bit to the northeast. Kind of defeats a little bit the purpose of this design, because the idea is to have the entrances facing, north and south, so that I can easily get in and get out. That was a fuck up, and I just need to pay better attention the next time. So let me take you guys, I guess, to the inside the base. So this took a total of 3 trips using the assault ornithopter. The last trip is more like a half, because the assault ornithopter was only half full with everything that I need. So I ended up filling up the rest of the space with more bodies. And this is now the inside of the base. There is, I think, plenty of space here for more ornithopters, including the carrier ornithopter. I think it should fit here if I get it at some point. I have some test steels here, only the regular ones. I do have the materials for the advanced ones, but it also means I have to also get more power. Also means, more material, more weight, and at the end it means more trips. For now, this is a small operation. I kind of wanted to keep it relatively easy, quick, simple, so just the regular ones are good. Most of the water is coming from the wind traps at the top, and a couple of storages here. Nothing major, not too much, not a lot. On the other side is where we have everything that we need. So we have the medium chemical refinery, we have the large ore refinery, so currently making prastinium, and then we also have the medium spice refinery. And there is enough space in terms of height for the large spice refinery, but I think I will need to have to expand this in some way to fit the large ore refinery and the large spice refinery. So that is for future. And I have some water storage here. So there's the large one, 2 large ones, one on each side, and a total of 5 medium ones. So I have 5 over there on the left, and I have 3 over here on the right. Then here, where the foundation is, I have a total of 10 generators. I also have this area for the buggy. This is more like an optional, just in case if I ever need to bring the buggy to the deep desert. And also, very important, every time I come to a deep desert, the first thing I do is put down a respawn beacon, just in case things go south, I die, I can respawn here. I died twice already in the deep desert, but not to PvP, but rather to stupidity. Once I ran out of water, I died, and the other time I landed on my scout ornithopter on quicksand. So yeah. At the top here, I have the power and the wind traps. So we have 3 of those. I think 3 of those for me is good. The total water storage is 320,000 liters. That is where most of the water comes from, and they are always on. I also have the powers here as well. 1 large one and 6 smaller turbines, wind turbines. Currently, I have 3 of those turned off because I am not using the spice refinery. So that is another thing that I do quite often here in the deep desert. Whatever machine I am not using, for example, the medium chemical and the medium spice, I don't have anything right now to run. So I turn them off and I turn off the corresponding power just to squeeze, an extra half a day. That is how I go about this solo. Just 3 trips kind of brings everything. Oh, and another thing, I don't know if you, probably some of you already know, but in the deep desert, even though we're right now in PvE area, if there is a storm, the power still gets knocked out. so your shield will still go down and the base takes damage from the storm, which is why you can see that some parts are no longer perfect. So that is another reason why I changed the material to Chom facility now for this build. My first base was using the Chom shelter, which I have, only inside, but for the outside is Chom facility so that it takes more hits. It took down the Sapphire console, the shield, quite a few times, and it is holding up much better than using the Chom shelter. So definitely at least use this. The foundation, on the other hand, I use Plastone. So the foundation of this is a treatise Plastone because I want this to be definitely much more durable than the rest. Because if the four foundations they go, then everything just comes down once everything is set up. So now is I just go out for harvesting. And when it comes to harvesting in the PvP area, I do take my assault ornithopter for a couple of reasons. One, the obvious one, it can carry more, and the other one, I feel like if I do get attacked, I have a higher chance of surviving using the assault because it does have more health than the scout. I haven't been attacked yet. Eventually, I guess I'll figure out. The thing that keeps me alive, the most important thing, is that I only harvest in the PvP area during the morning because that is when there are not a lot of people playing, plain and simple. And groups, they don't gang up in the morning times. And another tool that you can use to tell how busy your server is, the Dune Awakening database. It also has a server status page. And I know that this is not the most accurate way to tell how busy the deep desert is, but it does kind of at least give you a general idea. When I see that the player count is in the low double digits, that means very much empty, very safe to be harvesting in the PvP area. So this is something that I like to just open it up, just take a look, see the numbers, and just kind of have an idea of how busy it is. However, regardless of the time of the day or the population numbers, when I am harvesting in the PvP area, there are a couple of things that I do keep in mind all the time. Number one, just kind of look up once in a while just to see if anybody is coming. And the other thing I always do, and this is pretty much all the time, I do reposition my ornithopter throughout the harvest. So I'm always staying very close to the ornithopter. I do not walk too far. I think that is just really too risky because you never know when you're gonna get attacked, and you want to make sure that you are as close to your ornithopter as possible. Every time the worm shows up, I take off. I use that as an opportunity to look around, make a 360 quickly to see, if there's anybody coming. And of course, always listen to the sound of the wings. Sometimes when they show up, you will hear the wings of the ornithopter. So I keep my ears open. Then I am also just paying attention to the chat just to kind of get a vibe of the people in the server. It seems like most of the people in my server are pretty chill, and a lot of the fighting happens in the evenings, weekends, and it's mostly between the two factions, the two groups. I believe that for the most part, most of the servers, I think most people are cool, are chill. They're just there to harvest. It's always just, I think, a few small handful of people that are out there just looking for trouble to ruin somebody else's day. Again, this is server dependent, so just keep an eye on your server, kind of get to know the vibe that is going on there in your particular server. And during the busy times when there are a lot of users, everything seems to be very active in the chat, etc. etc. I usually avoid going to the PvP to harvest, and instead I go to the testing stations because there are more people. So very likely you're gonna have other people in those testing stations, and it makes running through those enemy waves much easier when it's a group of people, and the loot there is instant, so everybody will get their own loot. So that is pretty much my process when I go to the deep desert. And when it comes to taking everything back, I do make trips throughout the week. taking materials and things like that back to my main base, I use the scout ornithopter just because it's faster so that I don't have to do everything in the last day. So just wanted to share my process. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Otherwise, enjoy the game, have fun, and I see you all in the next video.